feel like something's different. Do you guys notice anything new right now? I feel like something's a little bit different now. Maybe I'm just going crazy.
All my life I've been considered as the worst.
After hours, drowsy stepping, hear the sermon, hold the reverend. Long distance relationships with triple sevens. Who'd have guessed it? Feeling washed up before its prime mic sessions. And as for reminiscences, only live in heaven.
What's going on, nomads, party people, and strangers everywhere across the internet? My name is V, and today, for the premiere of After Hours Review Retro, as I'm back in the flannel, I'm gonna be seeing this a lot for a couple of videos, is the fact that we're going to talk about one of the big cult classic films that came out in 2003, based off of a very popular manga, I believe, of Oldboy. Now, I just finished rewatching this film again, because I've already recorded this beforehand, but I figured this was a whole lot more sleek to do. So, instead of just doing like how other reviewers would do with notes, facts, and figures, I'm just going to keep everything as fresh as possible from my own mind, as if it's just from the theaters, like I usually do in After Hours reviews. So let's get started. The film starts off first in the present day time, which was in 2003, the main character of Odesu holding a suicidal man from the ledge by his tie, holding a dog, as he's getting ready to tell him his life story, which then goes back several years prior to starting off with him in a police station, for some odd reason, being drunk as fuck, and just trying to do all the same things a drunk person usually does in a police station. Hassling other people inside the station, trying to pee on things, getting into fights, hanging out with certain people, and then just trying to wipe his hands all over people, talking about his family, showing off gifts. You know, the same stuff you see drunk people doing out in the regular wild. It's nothing really that spectacular, until his friend of Juhuen shows up to take him home. By the way, if I mess up the Korean names, I apologize. To show up to take him home because it's his daughter's 3rd birthday. She's 3 years old today. And so, he is just trying to then phone home to say that he'll be home soon. He has a present for her, gives the phone to his friend of Juhuen. Juhuen goes on the phone to talk to his wife of Jahim. At least I hope I'm saying that right. To then say that he's going to be home very shortly, but surprisingly, he ends up vanishing out of nowhere while Juhuen is just like, where'd he go? Where'd my friend go? So then we just roll up a couple minutes past the intro credits and title card to then show that Odesu is now placed inside of a prison cell for 15 years. Where his only companions are a television and an artistic poster of just like, smile and the whole world smiles with you, laugh and the whole world laughs with you, weep and you weep alone. Beautiful, I suppose. So, following that whole transaction of the Count of Monte Cristo route of things so far in the story, we just have the same stuff that usual people do in a place of being in the prisons. Trying to plan out the escape route, trying to entertain themselves, and just trying to make the best of the situation. But in between those moments throughout the entire portion of that part of the film, people keep coming in after gassing him to take up various materials, to then frame him for the murder of his wife, to then sow in a lot of other seeds of deceit and a lot of other things for a future plan we'll go into later. But I digress. We then go back into the whole thing of trying to work out while in prison, making the escape route, and then it's basically 14 years, 11 months later, he's then saying that he's 1 month away from breaking out and trying to figure out all the things about what is the whole big factor about how he's locked up. He's a little suspicious. So then I'm assuming the day he's supposed to escape, which would make 15 years officially. Hooray for 15-year anniversary in prison! He's then visited by a hypnotist by the name of Lady Yu, or Miss Yu, I guess.
I miss you too.
No, I didn't say I miss you. What the fuck? Anywho, We're then showing a scene of him being hypnotized and thinking that he's in a big old grass plain. And then we just find a suitcase, or we just find out, oh shit, he really is outside on a grass plain. How the fuck did this happen? We'll find out later. But right now, we have to go off with a scene of him trying to talk to the same guy we saw during the beginning of the film with his dog crying, where we have the most inspirational quote that we'll have throughout the entire film. Even though I am nothing more than a beast, do I not still have the right to live? Hold on to that quote, we'll come back to that later. But after hearing that quote, the guy tries to commit suicide. Odesu tries to stop him by grabbing onto his tie, and then tells him his entire life story from where he was in the police cell all the way to where he is now. And then after hearing that story, the guy's like, let me tell you why I'm up here on this roof, sir. The reason that I'm up here is that... And Odesu just walks away. He's like, nope, I got my own issues. I'll see you later. I gots to go. And then he is in a elevator with a woman. A woman that he says in his dialogue of female human being, while just clinging on to the side like this. And during that moment, we then just suspiciously hear screaming dialogue as the elevator goes down. But why is that? Well, we didn't just find out after Odesu apparently robbed the lady of her sunglasses inside the elevator that the guy and his dog decided to plummet to his death. And then just smack down onto a car that was parked right there. Don't worry though, the dog wasn't real. I froze the entire image on my whole Netflix account to see that was just a fake doll or whatever. And the dog is not harmed. There was no harming of animals in the making of this feature. So anyway... Odesu decides to do what most people do after getting out of prison and just tries to figure out what he's going to do next because now he's a fugitive. His family won't talk to him. His friends won't touch him. What's he going to do? So first he tries to interact with some teenagers by robbing them of their cigarettes. They call him a dick shit. He then just fights them because he's like, does 10 years worth of imaginary training amount to anything? And then just kicks all their asses. Just like, apparently it does. To then just all of a sudden wander off to this one sushi restaurant where a homeless guy decides to give him a wallet full of money, a cell phone, and says, don't ask me anything because I don't know shit. Now, if you excuse me, there's a box with my name on it and a small little thing in the alleyway where I can take my pisses and shits. I will see you later, sir. So then as soon as he has that wallet, he then wanders into the sushi restaurant, which he apparently found from a TV show that apparently ran sometime in the early 2000s, late 90s, to then meet a sushi chef by the name of Mido, and only ask her to bring him something that's still alive. Still alive. Bruh, no one goes into a sushi restaurant asking for something that's still alive. I digress. While he's inside of the location, he gets a mysterious phone call after a small little conversation with Mido, apparently from the guy that locked him up in the first place. And that doesn't pan out well because everyone's just staring at him as he's listing off names and asking why was he in prison and all this sort of stuff. But then, after the whole phone line hangs up on him and he's just all like, I want my revenge. Mido then gives him a plate with an alive squid or octopus. I want to say it's a squid, but it might be an octopus. He then just decides to eat the alive squid head first and then just shoves the tentacles in his mouth, where it just kind of makes me feel a little weird. Asian film with tentacles, and I'm like, there's a hentai joke here, but I'm too lazy. In any case though, while he's shoving tentacles down his mouth, the lady decides to hold on to his hand, where then, for some odd reason that we don't know yet, he then passes out, head hits the counter, and we're then just transported to Mido's apartment, where she's just going over all of his personal information from all of his prison journals that he carried on with him after coming out of the suitcase, and then just tries to ask him a lot of different questions, like why did he pass out, does it really that rough, and then just says that she's just going to go to the bathroom, but if he comes in there to do anything to her, he will be gutted like a fish. So he then just takes the opportunity to try to molest her on the toilet, only to then get the butt of a knife hit across the head. But don't worry though. She then just says, oh, it's okay if you feel embarrassed. You see, I wasn't ready. But if I sing a certain song, boy, you better rock my world. And it's just like, no, no, no. But then we also tackle on to a single thing that I don't really want to talk about in this whole review of lonely people and ants. If you watch the film, you can understand that quality, but let's just say it's this whole psychological thing saying if you're alone, you then just hallucinate ants or some shit. I'm not going to touch that motive. Just ignore that for the rest of the review and let's keep going. So after just trying to cuddle up after being alone for how many years or whatever, they then just try to get simple clues about where everyone is in Desu's life, like his daughter, his wife's grave, and then his friends to try and locate other factors. But once he finds a supposed number to his daughter, he then is planning to get revenge on those that wronged him. Because early on in the film, he proclaimed that he will find who is responsible and kill them, and no one will find the remains because he will swallow every bit of them, I'm assuming. So then they try to go on an entire food exploration from these different restaurants called the Blue Dragon to find the certain restaurant that made a particular fried dumpling that he ate for 15 years straight. Why fried dumplings? I will never know. So after going on, I would say 8 to 9 different fried dumpling restaurants from the Blue Dragon branch, he then is met up with Mito in their apartment to talk to a person that apparently knows Mito a great deal and talks to her a lot through the webcam. Probably from that MSN thing that's still used to this day. And after just kind of getting a little suspicious of this guy and ripping out a small little thing from the phone book, Desu leaves the apartment to then go to a different Blue Dragon restaurant to taste their dumplings to see, oh shit, this is the restaurant. But why is it so far from the destination though, as he's following the courier to the location of this beat up hotel-like building and decides to ride it up to the 7.5 floor. 7.5th floor? And then just tries to first beat down the watchman that's in the hall, to then meet up with the guy that was watching him for the entirety of 15 years, where he then is trying to get information, but he doesn't get the information until he rips out 6 teeth from his mouth with a hammer. 6 teeth with a hammer. Following the torture, he finds out there's an audio log that he can get into from a cookie jar. He gets the audio thing, but as soon as he's taking his so-called torture victim out, I would say brutal torture victim, but then that's me, he then is trying to see who has AB blood to take him to the hospital. So he just shoves them in the face of all the people in the hallway. They take him to the hospital, but then we get one of the greatest moments in cinematic history of the one-shot tractor shot of an entire fight in a hallway that only took one shot as the whole camera was tracking every single motion and movement, where you could tell for every single moment in detail that all the actors were probably exhausted as hell, because every single action and motion and small little detail of how they fought, how many objects they used in the fight, the stabbing motions, the fist flyings, the kicking, the tossing, all those sort of things. It was incredible from how they just choreographed that entire thing in one continuous shot that was later replicated in other big things that we see today. Most notably would be Daredevil on Netflix. Check it out. So, following that wonderful scene, we then have Desu, the victor of course, having them fight people in an elevator off screen with a knife in his back. And probably still bleeding out. Fuck you, Captain America. We then have him going out of the building, not going to specify on where, because the map didn't there was no map, there was no geography to tell me where they were. He then just walks out into broad daylight bleeding and then passing out in the middle of the road, where a mysterious gentleman decides to help him out into a taxi, but not before saying a few things that kind of caught his ear, like the apartment that he was staying in of Mito's, as well as his name, and that threw him off a great deal. But he couldn't do anything at the moment because he had to get patched up by Mido to then go all the way to an internet cafe after hearing the audio from his entire tenure about who put him in there and a small little motivation into why he was put in there. The only key, he talked too much. Talked too much about what, though, is the question. Maybe he was an internet reviewer, I don't know. So following that audio thing and then some guy staring at him from across the street, we then have Desu meeting up with Jukan in his internet cafe, where they then try to track down the guy known on the internet as Evergreen. Evergreen? I want to say Evergreen. But surprisingly, Evergreen knows Mido. But Mido ends up falling into a trap of a fake internet account that was set up by Desu and Juken. So as soon as he saw that Mido accepted the friend request, do all that sort of stuff, he then gets furious, ties her up to the bed, and then as soon as he's interrogating her about what her motives are, why she did this, he then gets a phone call saying where the guy is, and surprise, surprise, he's right across the street! The bitch is right across the street! So he then leaves her tied up, goes across the street to then find the guy responsible. I'm assuming it was probably maybe 3 to 5 days he was out of prison, and he found the bad guy. So, after meeting the guy and assuming that he could beat him up, torture him, find out why he did what he did, he can't do anything, because Evergreen wants him to find out why he was targeted, and discover all these things by July 5th. And he only has 5 days to do so. And then goes on a whole spiel of you can't kill him because if you do, you'll never find out. And if you tried to torture him, he made a so-called button that can cancel out his pacemaker for his weak heart so that he can kill himself on his own command. Awesome. Anywho, following that small little exchange and then just leaving it at that, Evergreen and his awesome bodyguard of Mr. Han decide to remind him that next door he left the door wide open in case Mido was probably attacked, which she was by the guy he beat up earlier and his cronies. And unlike last time where Desu was able to beat the shit out of him, he's still recovering from all the wounds he had last time of bruises, stabbed to the back, blood everywhere on his spine. It's a giant mess. So he gets snatched up easily and is about to get tortured himself. Until Evergreen calls the guy with 6 gold, I think silver or gold teeth in his mouth to not do anything. And then decides to just leave it at that, where Desu and Mido decide to leave the apartment to then go somewhere. I'm not sure where their plan was, until after hearing that Desu got her in trouble because she's the woman that he loves. She then sings the song that she said that she would sing earlier on if she wanted him to go down on her. So then apparently by July 1st, we're then treated to a, I would guess, 2 to 3 minute long sex scene. And I'm not going to say anything about the scene because I'm vomiting on the inside because of what I know. But let's just say I'm not a fan. So after the 2 to 3 minute sex scene and then them trying to fix her hair for some odd reason, we're then treated to another gassing scene because we find out that Desu was gassed for the entire 15 years he was imprisoned. So we have to repeat that scene again, where Evergreen and Mr. Han come into their hotel to then leave a box in their hotel room, which is of their assailant. We find out now is a man by the name of Mr. Park, because we find out that Mr. Park's hand is in a box. It's like that scene from Seven, only with a hand instead of a head. So, following that small notion, where do we go with the story now? Well, because they figured out that something's really screwy, they find out they're bugged. So they go to some mall somewhere in Korea to then decide to get debugged from everything that they own, everything that they're wearing, everything they're carrying, to make sure that Evergreen isn't listening in on them. And from that notion, they then go to Juhen to discover Evergreen. But all they find as a key note is their old high school of Shangho High School. By the way, do all these names just refer to this as Korea yet? So after finding out all this information, just like if it's from their high school, maybe it's a guy we went to school with. They then go through all the school records and yearbooks to find out it's a gentleman by the name of Lee Woojin. Again, I apologize if my Korean is terrible. So, after finding out it's him, they're just like, I don't remember a Lee Woojin. They then discover a different Lee, Lee Shuan, a lady that was in the same class as Daesu and Juhen, but apparently there was a rumor going around saying that she was a whore. She was a dirty old whore that would bang everybody. But as Juhen is telling Daesu this, here's another twist. Because they have no bugs on them anymore, Lee Woojin has been following the trail back to Juhen and was listening in on the entire conversation. And because he's hearing someone calling his sister a whore, he takes a CD from this computer room, then just smash up into small little shards, then just stab the fuck out of Juhen. I got super energetic about that because this movie scars me. Anywho, following that stabbing notion and then telling Daesu that he murdered his only remaining friend, Daesu is driving a car screaming like a madman saying, I will kill him! While Lee Woojin is now just in his penthouse apartment somewhere in Korea, listening to some audio and crying like a bitch. I mean, fully crying like a little bitch. So, after that scene of Daesu raging and Lee Woojin crying like a bitch, we then have the scene of them going to a doctor's office to locate the man that imprisoned him in the first place. Not Lee Woojin, Mr. Park, the guy that only has one actual hand. And then tries to do a little bit of sneak stuff by having Mito locked up in the same prison he was, while also going over a bit of things involving hypnosis that's been plaguing Mr. Daesu since the beginning of the film, I would say. Note that I'm saying hypnotism twice in this entire review. Keep note of that. So after locking her up, Daesu decides to go all over the place to look for one person that he knew back in school that is now a hairdresser, to then find out some more details into how this whole entire scenario is his fault. So, he then finds out from his hairdresser friend that although the rumors were like that, Suen was a pure girl, was innocent, but she was dating someone at the time. So she gets on the phone with a friend that tells her that this friend told her that friend, but the only friend that would know the real details is Daesu himself, which then leads into a giant flashback about when Daesu was at his final days at that high school of Shenkuk, to then meeting Lee Shuen on a little red bike, which apparently is a bit of fun that you do in a Catholic school. Didn't know it was a Catholic school until just at this point of the film, so just fuck it, roll with it. Where Daesu is trying to first tell her a joke, but she has to leave because she has an important arrangement to get to. But he then decides to spend a little bit more time at the school by writing some bit of shit talking on the boards, until he just sees a suspicious guy with a camera running across campus. So he must investigate, he must do something, he must follow to get some clues. Which turns out to be Lee Woojin trying to photograph his sister of Lee Shuen for, I'm guessing, prosperity? Memories? I don't know. But the photo shoot becomes a little bit weird. And by a little bit weird, I mean if you guys are uncomfortable about what's going to happen next from what I'm getting at, I advise you take out your headphones in about 5 or so seconds after I'm done saying a certain speech. Because after I'm done saying that, you will be hearing some stuff that will be super taboo for anyone that does not enjoy anything dark or twisted in that market. Me included. Because I have my limits with dark stuff. So if you guys feel like you're going to be uncomfortable with what I'm about to say, I recommend that you take out your headphones in a few seconds, and when I flash this to the screen, that means put your headphones back in if you're headphone users. If not, I recommend that you mute this until I do the sign exactly like that as well. Are you ready? Okay. Now, mute or take out your headphones at this exact moment. To those of you that are still listening, here is the thing. Li Wujin decides to take the moment with his sister of Li Xuan to take off her panties, try to take off her bra, and unbutton her dress, to first Eskimo nuzzle and suck on her nipple before getting down to awkward incest town of the Bone Zone, a horrible neighborhood there. And all that Xuan is doing is taking out a mirror to admire herself like, oh yeah, I'm hot shit. My brother wants to fuck me. I'm not gonna go with anyone else. I want that brother dick. I want that brother dick. And then it's all spoiled as soon as she sees that Desu was seeing the entire thing from a small little window that obviously would have caught barely anything in real life unless you were really good at angling yourself. So then from that scene, we then have Desu talking to his friend of Juhan to then just say what he saw. But then Juhan says he has to go to a date, but Desu's like, don't you tell a fucking soul about what I just told you. Because if you do, I'm gonna kick your ass. But eventually we find out, like how it says in the present time, that yeah, he spread the rumor as he was transferring from their school to Seoul. And then that's how the rumor started, and that's why Li Wujin is blaming him for everything, because his sister, after hearing said rumors, felt like she was pregnant and wanted to murder herself because she thought that she was going to give birth to her child that would also be her nephew. So, yeah, the whole thing is he blames Desu for his own taboo relationship with his sister. I taste vomit in my mouth. Anywho, following that small little hint of disgust, we then have Desu going to the final location, going on with the final confrontation, following some notes that we've uncovered throughout the entire movie, to then find out where he's been. A penthouse in the middle of the city, all the way up, after taking notes from Proverbs 6 verse 4, to then try to discuss what happened, to then make good on their deal, saying that if he finds out what happens, he will gladly kill himself and let Desu and Mido go, but if he didn't, blah blah blah. So after just confronting him about everything, about how he said all that stuff, and how the rumor caused this about his sister, and all this sort of stuff that would make anyone feel uncomfortable, we then finally get into the motive, into all of Li Wujin's plan. Now I need you guys to brace yourselves for this, because this plan is so weird that even I have problems understanding this, even after watching this 3 times for this singular review. So here is the mastermind of the plan, as I'm going to skip over a couple of scenes for those that will probably watch the movie at this point, or not. Li Wujin, after the death of his sister, decides to study and observe Desu for a long period of time after a lot of grief and sadness over his sister lover being gone. From that notion, we then have him tracking down Desu at the most obvious time, where he has a 3-year-old daughter. A 3-year-old daughter, 15 years ago, that would be 18 at that point in the story. To have him kidnapped and put into a prison where he is then subjected to hypnosis therapy from having droplets placed inside of his water of a hypnotic drug, first as the primitive step, to then make sure that hypnotic suggestions are placed in there after the initial hypnosis is established. However, at the same time, he's doing the same thing to his daughter, who he's secretly raising from afar after he sets up the murder of his wife, to then make sure that she has hypnotic suggestions. Now, I know this kind of sounds like, oh, this doesn't sound like anything, just wait for it. So after the 15 years thing is done and he has all these hypnotic things placed into mind, he then makes it so Desu meets up with the sushi chef that is also hypnotized to then go through all these notions to make sure that they end up together. But the keynote into why this all happens was once Desu is led to a box that Lee Woojin puts on his desk that becomes his family photo album that first shows him and his wife and his daughter, then just photos of him, of his wife and the daughter, then just the daughter, then the daughter again, then an unknown lady, an unknown lady, unknown lady, unknown lady. It turns out it's his daughter. Oh wait, and the daughter is Mido. And Mido is with Desu. And then, is it sinking in yet? Yeah, but the entire plan was to set it up so that Desu, after having heard the news of his wife being murdered, not knowing where his daughter was, ends up falling in love and having sex with his own child to enact the same taboo that Lee Woojin did with his own sister, and attempts to do the same thing of having them both know that they are father and daughter to see what would happen. I would advise you all to pause this if you're gonna vomit right now, because I know this plan is just fucking weird. It makes no goddamn sense, cause it's, one, his own fault for trying to fuck his own sister, repeatedly, I'm assuming, and two, if they are gonna do it, I'm not endorsing it, I'm just saying if they're gonna do it, why do it at a school where anyone would walk in on them and then anyone could have started the rumor? Because, let's face it, anyone could have been like, yo, she fucks people, she fucks a lot of people, she just fucks a lot of dudes, she's a whore. I just saw her fuck her own brother. She'll probably just fuck a goat if asked her to. That just makes the motive just so goddamn stupid. Cause it's like, yeah, she did all this stuff and he shouldn't have said anything. No, that's bullshit. It's bullshit, and everyone with a sense of a conscience would have known that. That's bullshit. But moving on. Are you guys good? You good? Alright. So after Desu finds that stuff out, he then tries to take a pair of scissors to stab Lee Woojin. But then Mr. Han, I'm going to say this now, my favorite supporting character, because he did nothing at all except follow orders, just keeps tossing him around the room to keep him from stabbing his employer, and almost throws him out the building from one of the big windows. And yet, after Desu stabs him through the earlobe, but actually ear canal that almost pierced his cerebellum to cause him to go insane, he is about to die until Lee Woojin shoots Mr. Han in the back of the head. Bye, Mr. Han. I'll miss you. So anyway, after the murder of Mr. Han, and my only hope in this story that everyone's gonna die except for Mr. Han, we then have Lee Woojin just trying to cement that he gave Mido the same exact box, like per plan, and was trying to have her open it because Mr. Park actually still works for Mr. Lee Woojin. Stupid, I know, but it's a story. What are you gonna do? So now Desu's trying to do anything in his power to get him to not show Mido what's in the box. He's even saying that he'll be his bitch. All the way to the point where he was able to cement him never telling Mido a single thing, or even having her open the box, by just doing this one scene that I will never approve of. He takes the same scissors that he incidentally deafened and made Mr. Han go insane of, to cut out his own tongue and present it to Lee Woojin as a token of to never tell his daughter that he's her father. So following that notion, Lee Woojin's just like, yeah, my plan worked, yeah, but what am I gonna live for now? As he just places a gun to both of their heads, he cocks it, puts his finger on the trigger so slowly, like he's about to pull it, but then he just stops. Slides a button that he says will make his heart stop. and slides it over to Desu. As soon as Desu sees it, he grabs it. He's thinking that as soon as he's going to open the elevator, he will kill him. He will win. But instead, all he hears is recorded audio of him fucking his own daughter. While Lee Woo-jin just leaves him with this remark of, him and his sister love each other despite it all. Can they? And all Desu does is just sit there in silence and in sorrow over hearing the entire audio play back at him for what he just did. But in the elevator, Lee Woo-jin is having a flashback to when his sister committed suicide to then just drown herself. And after the flashback is done, Lee has the gun still in his hand, but he then just cocks it, has the trigger ready, and then BAM! Brains on the side of the elevator. Brains on the side of the elevator. So anyway, following that completely wonderful scene that I put on repeat 9 times, we then have Desu meeting up with the therapist from early on in the film of Miss You.
I miss you too.
No, I did not miss you. Damn it! Where Miss Woo and Desu, in the middle of nowhere as snow is covering dead trees, she reads the entire journal entries about the entire events of the film, and it's like, I'm not going to do anything for you, but after seeing this one line that you put in, the same line that the guy that killed himself holding on to his dog said, of, even though I am a beast, do I not still have the right to live? She decides to help him forget everything about him sleeping with his daughter by making him forget that she's his daughter. But making it sort of ambiguous by saying that once I ring this bell inside your mind in this location, there will be 2 of you. There will be Desu, the one that doesn't know, and there will be the beast, the one that knows everything. But the thing of it is, in a mental space like that, you never know which one is which. Like, maybe the one in the mirror is the beast, maybe the one that was on the other side of the mirror was the beast. No one knows for certain, but all she says is, as soon as the one that is called the beast walks away and only ages up to age 70, will die after reaching age 70 with every step. Desu wakes up in the middle of the snow. Miss Yu is gone. All that's left is him being found by Mido, and Mido is holding him in an embrace like a lover, saying that she loves him. But he has to first smile at that notion, like, oh, the treatment worked, so we got incest is wincest in Korea. But wait, he then just starts slowly and surely start going from smiles, then just sad frown while silently sobbing, as if to say, did the treatment work or did it not? Leaving it very ambiguous as to whether or not he himself will go down the same path as Lee Woo-jin. If he had his own child, grandchild, will he kill himself because he can't live with the shame? What will happen in the grand scheme of things now that it's all said and done? And that, my friends, is Oldboy. Okay, enough serious stuff, because, woo, I cannot take that movie seriously. That is a very fucked up film. Good psychological stuff, though. The hypnosis stuff I did not expect after rewatching it the first time, which was the first time I recorded this, but after seeing it again, for I would say, honestly, my 3rd time watching this movie, I'm still just like, this movie is very fucked up. Because the whole problem started with this guy that wanted to fuck his own sister, that may or may not have actually been pregnant after various rumors were spreading, with his child nephew, decides that, you know what, I don't want to give birth to my child nephew, I want to die. Drops off a bridge, and he's just like, I blame the guy that caught us doing the taboo thing of a brother and sister having sex with each other to then have a child nephew. That is wrong, sir. So I'm gonna punish you by making you fuck your own daughter as soon as she hits 18, cause you deserve it. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I'm just always blown away by how weird certain movies are by even my own standards, cause it's like, Vince doesn't care. Vince enjoys a lot of different movies, but I have to draw the line somewhere, guys. I know I'm a dark, cynical person, but I have my own limits with taboo shit. I'll draw the line at a lot of stuff. This is one of them. Yeah, it has a beautiful rendering of things. It's a good manga adaptation with a better scene inside of it than the manga ever did, of that one full hallway fighting scene. But it's still just a super fucked up film. It's why I don't enjoy that anime. My little sister cannot be this cute. Or that manga Sister X Sister. Why do people enjoy this incest is wincest thing? And aside from my disgust of that, my obvious weight loss of 50 pounds from vomiting, the film itself can be very well poignantly made. It's quite frankly one of the best psychological thriller Korean films I've seen in a while, even though it disgusts me. But in the same premise though, the acting was sublime, and I almost felt like it was real. Like it wasn't a movie, like it was a pure biopic of a real life family that went through this scenario. It was a perfect marriage of the Count of Monte Cristo and Oedipus Rex done properly in the modern day. Something that a lot of different movies don't do well. Like, I'm comparing it to a movie I saw recently of A Cure for Wellness. It tried to do that whole Oedipus Rex angle a little bit later in the film that I didn't really approve of, because it wasn't really that justified. It was more or less a sicko trying to do sick things because he felt like it was the most just thing to do. That's not something to get behind because of other weird shit. That's just weird. That'd be like if I were to say I want to have sex with my own family members. That would be wrong, man. That would be wrong as fuck. And aside from all that sort of stuff, the location shots, everything that they did with this film, I loved to pieces, because I never got to see Korea like that at all. Last time I saw it, it was dark out because it was nighttime. I slept all day. I only had takeout because I just sat in an apartment all day. So just seeing all that stuff, from how they try to paint it in all these different gritty but also bright lights, saying that the tone shifts can happen in any regard, no matter where you live in the world, which a lot of different films still don't do nowadays. I mean, come on, guys. We did it in 2003. Why can't we do it again now? It just captures what you can and cannot do in cinema to a perfect T. And I approve of what they did, but again, my problem is the antagonist's entire plan. I can understand doing things for love because love makes you stupid, but I will never endorse love in an incest way. That's one of the lines I draw at. That and bestiality, and a whole other list we'll get into later on in my career. So, we plan aside from the antagonist, the plot was well sounded. All the supporting characters did their job. I still think Mr. Han should have been the main hero because he did nothing except stand there like a baller.
It's dog!
And that single tracking shot in the hallway, top notch, one of my favorite techniques in filmmaking, where you just take that one continuous motion and run with it. Just run apeshit with it. I love action scenes like that, and I applaud how many different filmmakers, TV producers are trying to replicate that. I love that shit. So yeah, this is the first episode of After Hours Review Retro Night. So let's go over how I felt about the entire movie in ratings. Oldboy is a fantastic cult classic film that, although I know I'll probably watch again later on in life because filmmaker need to keep fresh on everything film, I can't say it's for everyone because of how it's made, how it's shot, and what the surprise ending is, or the plot itself being centered around. But I will say that for anyone that's really into filmmaking, you will have to learn to get along with this film like it's that one weird uncle that comes to family reunions. Because it does have a lot of good film techniques, story elements, and a lot of good editing stuff that a lot of filmmakers don't really touch upon, but need to, as sort of a study of foreign filmmaking. And with that being said, from just the technical aspects and how the music when it was played was well done, well illustrated, and fabuloso, I would just say for an honest rating, I will give this entire film an 11.8 out of 13 with A minus as its grade, and give it a star rating of 8, which is only going to be reserved for films that, yeah, they're important, but I won't say are over the top the greatest. You have the right to your own opinion after this, and if you want to do your own retro review about this, you can. I just do this because I want to and it's fun. So, after this though, what's the next episode of After Hours Review Retro Night? Amadeus.
We make them scream murder.